Moscow went dark. Blocks, metro lines, entire districts, minutes after Ukraine sent 30 jets toward Russia's nuclear heart. You clicked for the blackout. You're in the right place. Today, we break down what hit the Kenan complex. Cooling towers, the main switchyard, and a reactor area targeted with claimed 3-meter precision. We'll show how a $4 million strike package masked by cheap UJ-22 decoys slipped past Russia's layered defenses, and why that matters. Stay, because the economic shock and political humiliation that followed are the real story Russia didn't plan for. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. If Moscow is wrapped in layered air defenses, why did entire districts blink off almost at once? The answer starts where the city's power ties into its nuclear workhorse, not at the core, but at the electrical throat that feeds the grid. When that throat closes, the lights fall in sheets, and the maps of outage reports look less like random faults and more like someone yanked a single plug on a very large machine. Within minutes, metro headways stretched and trains coasted under reduced power. Escalators paused, then crawled as backup circuits kicked in. Hospital wards hummed to life on diesel, with non-critical floors going dark to save fuel. Cell towers dropped to intermittent service as battery backups rotated, and data speeds fell across whole neighborhoods. Traffic signals froze mid-cycle, then failed, forcing intersections into hand signals and horn battles that cascade traces back to one place: the switchyard at the Kenan complex. It's the hard stand full of steel and copper that takes generator output, steps it up, and pushes it down the transmission lines that feed the capital's load centers. Strike that junction and you don't hurt the reactor. You cut the artery. Officials spoke of stability and localized disruptions. At street level, reports stacked up in real time, rolling blackouts moving from ring roads to inner districts, tunnel lighting offline, trolley lines dead. The contradiction isn't unusual in the first hour of a grid event, but the pattern said the same thing over and over. This wasn't a transformer fire on a suburban spur. It was a coordinated interruption at the tie-in that mattered most. The target set explains why small, precise hits caused outsize effects. Bus bars, those thick silvered conductors, carry bulk power between breakers and transformers. Hit a bus segment and you split flows, forcing protective relays to isolate entire bays. Step-up transformers take plant voltage and lift it to transmission levels. Damage their bushings or radiators and the unit trips to protect itself. Protection relays, the brains of the yard, monitor current and voltage and open breakers in milliseconds. Trip those systems with physical damage or induced faults, and you get a clean, wide-area disconnect without touching a single fuel assembly. The strike geometry favored fixed, high-value nodes. Precision munitions guided to within a claimed 3 meters can hit a bushing, a relay house wall, or a bus support insulator. You don't need explosives that can crater concrete. You need cuts that force trips and prevent immediate reclosure. That is why the blackout rolled fast and stayed broad. The hits didn't vaporize hardware. They made it unsafe to reconnect. Defenders faced a timing trap. Ahead of the main strike, 35 UJ-22 UAVs flew lanes that lit up radar sectors and pushed S-400 and Panzer crews into fast engagement cycles. Every launch burned seconds, heat, and inventory. Operators switch modes, shift search beams, and chase tracks that look like the main threat. While radars and crews fixate on those decoys, the quieter axis opens. The main shooters arrive to pre-surveyed coordinates with less interference, and the first warnings are the protection relays tripping across the yard. We've seen this vulnerability before. Past disruptions that clipped switchyards or transmission nodes knocked out cities while reactors stayed safe and stable. Balance of plant is the Achilles heel because it's exposed, spread out, and designed for efficiency, not armor. You can harden a containment dome. You can't put a bunker around a field of bus bars without breaking the grid you're trying to protect. So the darkness makes sense. Hit the switchyard and the transmission nodes that feed the city, and you don't need to harm the reactor. You just pull the plug on demand. 7 administrative districts went down, metro slowed, hospitals rolled to backup, and the system's own protections kept the outage wide to avoid damage. If the grid fell that fast, The obvious question is next. What let the shooters get close enough to touch the soft tissue under Russia's most expensive shield? So how does a strike package priced like a mid-range office tower thread through what's sold as the world's densest air defense web? Start with the architecture. 30 upgraded F-16s formed a loose, multi-axis formation. Shooters and escorts split into cells with their own timing windows. AIM-120 support sat on the edges of the bubble, ready to swat interceptors or opportunistic fighters. AESA-class radars stayed quiet until needed, using narrow beams and short bursts. Over that, a curtain of decoys rolled in first to pull the net tight in the wrong places. Those decoys mattered because tracking and queuing are finite. The S-400 and Pantsir families present clean overlapping rings on a map. Crews live inside clutter, and time operators must pick tracks to engage, decide which radar mode to use, and manage missiles heating in launch tubes while commanders demand confirmation. The attackers leaned on that human bottleneck. They didn't need to erase defenses. They needed to overload the operators for a few crucial minutes and make the most capable batteries look the wrong way. The UJ-22s did that job. They flew in lanes that forced radars to toggle between search and track modes, driving up processor load and complicating classification. Each intercept demanded a missile shot and a radar commit battery by battery. The engagement cycle crept up in temperature and time. Thermal limits are a thing. Electronics degrade with heat, and crews pace shots to protect gear. Reloads take minutes that feel like hours when tracks stack in the scope. As interceptors left the rails, ready magazines thinned and gaps opened between sectors that looked covered on the PowerPoint slide and naked in the air. Meanwhile, the shooters cut the kill chain. Emission control kept their signatures brief and slippery. Jamming shaved range off tracking radars and fuzzed velocity gates, so tracks wandered or split terrain, masking along river valleys and low ground suppressed radar line of sight. When a track degraded, a queue arrived late, or a missile seeker saw a muddled return. The defense needed a second chance. The strike plan denied second chances by pushing to fixed coordinates that were already surveyed, not chasing moving targets. Accuracy claims around 3 meters on switchyard components line up with what modern guided munitions can deliver against well-known coordinates. A bushing cap, a relay hut, a support insulator, these are not large, but they are fixed and mapped. You don't need a giant warhead when the target's function depends on a small, fragile part doing a precise job. The result is a forced trip and a lockout that operators can't bypass without risking arc flash and transformer damage. Cost tilted the field. The decoy volley, priced around $5 million in total, met interceptors that run into the millions per shot. Every launch traded dollars and readiness in the attacker's favor. Each successful decoy engagement created not just a financial loss, but a temporary hole in coverage. Because a tube fired is a tube that needs loading and a crew that needs a beat to reset. Multiply that across sectors, and the web stretches and thins in uneven patches. We've seen a version of this play in the Air Littoral. CSIS documented FPV swarm strikes on Russian bombers that took advantage of altitude bands and sensor blind spots, slipping cheap, small threats into the seams between base security and air defense. The lesson carried over. Low-cost platforms can pry open systems designed around high-cost intercepts, especially when the defender has to protect many targets at once. That's the payoff. The jets slipped a $500 billion shield by forcing saturation and decision overload, and the $5 million decoys fooled top-tier systems long enough to hit fixed electrical choke points with precision. The breach sat at the tactical level. The next part landed where it hurts. Balance sheets, market nerves, and political capital measured in days, not hours. The fastest way to dim a superpower isn't the reactor. It's the switchyard that feeds the city. Hit the bus bars, relays, and step-up paths, and you don't scorch the core. You starve the load. That's where cities blink first and where recovery drags.